so far, honestly. EP will start off on the blue side, OMG over on the red, Victor, LeBlanc, Energy, Pacemaker's first two bans, and Maokai Thresh for OMG. So like I said, very standard 5.4 looking stuff so far.
Yeah, Cool's been showing quite a lot of priority on the LeBlanc pick, which is, on the Victor pick, which is surprising to me. LeBlanc has been consistently banned against him. Ari makes it through the picks and bans, and although 5.6 isn't her favorite meta, she's probably a little bit stronger when the champion pools are at low health, as Amazing J just shows us the Garen. Remember, he actually locked in the Garen the last time we saw Energy Pacemaker play, but I think this is a bit of fun. Sejuani is one of the champions that's come through with the Cinderhulk changes. The Sejuani priority has been high across regions. I remain to be convinced by the pick. I feel like sometimes it's amazing, sometimes it just doesn't go there. Feast or Famine, it feels like to some degree, but Kalista, one of the most popular picks around. You're giving up a lot here with the likes of Sejuani and Ari available, and going. Remember, 5.6 shows a little bit of Rise buffs. It's the dream, but I don't think it's going to be the reality.
Well, let's take a bit of a step back here as EP have first picked the Kalista, like you've said, but the jungle's actually quite interesting here. Nidalee and Rek'Sai both banned out. Nidalee's jungle power, not too sure. We're still seeing a lot of play after some changes in the previous patch, and Rek'Sai, even on this patch, and 5.5 has looked fine as well. So strong junglers banned out there. That does leave the tanks open as well. There's lots and lots going on in the overall champion pool, but OMG right now might just stick to some old standards, and they do. Hecarim and Annie are their first two picks.
Yeah, Hecarim taken away, you have to think, from Amazing J, by far his most played champion, by far the champion showed the best performance on, but definitely very comfortable and knowledgeable about that pick. He's the one that brought it to the fore in the LPL, especially with the Ignite teleport summoners. Looks like he's considering Nara against it, and Sejuani again being moused over. Will we actually see the Sejuani come through? Because again, we skipped 5.5. I mean, there's always different schools of thoughts on whether you want to pick that Sejuani with such a dangerous first clear in a meta like the Chinese meta, where there's so many lane swaps, so many aggressive junglers. It can be a risk, but it's locked in.
Yeah, we do have it here. The Gnar and the Sejuani going to come through, so big tanky front lane there for EP to start off their draft. We haven't seen Gnar for a while, but both Going and Amazing J have had good-looking games on the champion in weeks of LPL past, but we'll have to see now, and if Loveling wants to play something aggressive into Sejuani, he's really the type of player that can punish these tank junglers.
Absolutely. He's probably not going to pick up the Hecarim. You have to think that's a Hecarim top, especially with the summoners being moused over upon. People kind of tunneled very instantly when they saw Cinderhulk, acting like a death cap for health users, of course, 25% bonus health that you can build up, so you get a lot of scaling from your health purchases, and said, okay, now only tank junglers will be viable. You have to remember that with those dangerous first clears, Sejuani often 100, 150, 200 health at the end of her first clear. If you go for those skirmish junglers like Jarvan, like Lee Sin, like Rek'Sai, which is banned away in this game, if you invade aggressively, depending on how the jungle follows go, if we see lane swaps, there are potentially free kills to really set those health stackers behind, and just to try and control the early game, so you never get to the spot where a 4,000 health Sejuani is impacting team fights.
Yeah, and there's the aggression from OMG with the Lee Sin and the Lucian for their last two picks, but Energy Pacemaker do not have long left to lock in these last few picks, and a couple of new players joining the lineup. Things getting mixed up, last second change away from the Vlad, and whoa, back to Karma instead. Karma Jana, the last two picks for EP.
So I thought Garen was a reach, but we're going with the Karma locked in. It must be a Karma mid at this point, unless we're seeing AP Jana action. Karma mid, a lot of potential power. It's a blind pick mid choice. There's no champions barring perhaps Annie that could really represent in the mid lane. So what will Cool have on 5.6 to deal with the very high early pressure of Karma? At level 1, that damage from your Mantrid Q is just insane.
Yeah, I mean, people often complain about Karma support having high damage, but give Karma some AP, hit some skill slots, and you can do work there also. Cool is going to have a last pick here. He almost always gets it from his team, so not super surprising there. And Cool going to make us very proud on the first day here. Vladimir is OMG's last pick.
And the instant lock-in of the double escape summoners as well. Vladimir is going to struggle in the early levels. Of course, the sustain only starts to ramp up when you hit that level 9 transfusion, when you pick up the revolver into the Will of the Ancients. In the early levels, Karma's high base damage and natural build of Morellonomicon will do a lot of work against Vladimir, but in the late game, you throw on that Hemoplague and then all the AoE damage from Hecarim, from Lucian, from Annie, there are going to be some titanic team fights coming through from OMG.
Yeah, I have to think that's a pick for team there by Cool. It does combo well with the Annie and the Hecarim, which they both have, but Karma fine in the matchup. Good aggressively early on, good poke. The tether that slows and snares you still works through Sanguine Pool, so lots going on there, but let's go through our matchups here. Gnar vs Hecarim in the top lane. Feels like we're back to the first few LPL weeks.
Absolutely. Gnar's fallen off in a lot of regions, not the LPL. Going to be Gnar pushing in and doing work. This is the big matchup, though. Debut of Sejuani in the jungle on patch 5.6. Loveling going to try and make the Piggy's life a real hell.
Yeah, and there's Karma Vladimir in the mid lane, of course. Who would have expected
The
anything else
Karma
to start off
Vladimir
week
lineup.
10 of the LPL? Captain 57 back as well. He's going to be on Sejuani, so that's interesting for him. And here again, a new AD carry. Uzi's been so good on Kalista, but he's got Lucian into the matchup this time.
And Lucian does match up very good against Kalista, especially in the early levels. Before you get enough attack speed to really proc that martial poise, you can't really get away from the piercing light. Lane swap's going to be the big question. Amazing J, he's not really wanting a lane swap because he's on the no escape. Sorry, Amazing J won't be one of the lanes because he's against a no escape top laner in terms of Go-Going. So it'll be very interesting to see whether Go-Going can navigate away from the lane top. Of course, he's very prone to being turret dived if you don't have flash. Whether Amazing J will get the 1v1. It's hard to say, but in a lot of ways, there's a lot to be explored on patch 5.6 in the LPL. Vladimir for Team Comp. Remember, he tried Twisted Fate for Team Comp, and that went miserably poorly. For Cool, how will the Vladimir versus Karma matchup go? I'm not confident, but Cool, maybe he'll make me a believer.
I mean, Cool always loves to do whatever he wants to do, so not too surprising to see him mix things up here. Very aggressive is OMG's team comp across the board, with the exception of that mid lane pick, so expecting a lot of action, especially in the bottom lane, I think, with Annie Lucian versus Jana Kalista, so there's going to be some fireworks. Uzi and Cloud definitely going to play aggressively there.
I mean, Lucian, Annie, that's a very aggressive lane. Also strikes me a bit of a lane swap lane. Send Lucian in that 1v1 or 1v0. Have Annie roaming around with level 1, such a high-impact champion with the stun. Could be a lot of hijinks. Be interesting to see if we get the lane swap.
Well, we'll see if hijinks do ensue. We're going to get straight onto the Rift. And welcome into our first game here between EP and OMG. We're jumping a little bit further in here. Level 1 is almost always over, but we've got a couple wards down. Looks like players just moving back and forth, trying to get a foothold, and most importantly, protect the Sejuani's early clear.
Absolutely. Sejuani falls solo in the first kill. We've mentioned it already. I'm sure you guys have played it in solo queue and realized it's just very, very scary on your first clear. And no more scary than if you ever Lee Sin on the enemy team. With that missing health damage, you fall down to 150 health, you're going to die.
Yeah, so have to be careful here. We can see Uzi and Cloud hanging out on this side, so we'll actually get aggressive onto the blue buff. Get a bit more than aggressive, probably just taking the small creeps away. Don't want to take the buff itself. Yep, we'll back away in. Not going to take a whole camp, the Grump, but we'll just get a little bit of extra experience.
And I believe they each picked up one, so both of them are going to hit level 2 a bit earlier. Not giving the solo experience to Uzi makes sense. Cloud doesn't have the stun showing just yet. Could be a really impactful level 2 ping, and what is now a standard lane.
And it looks almost just like a leash, but it's very quick. They didn't miss a single creep as far as experience goes, so we've seen it a couple of times. It's very cute, level 1. That's the sort of stuff we love to see.
Absolutely. It's just something you can't really factor in. You don't have to use a lot of health or mana. I mean, you're missing a bit of health, so there's a suspicion you took a comp, but you can't really judge how much experience these two have, especially in terms of solo or shared.
Yep, so down the bottom, we do see the standard lanes break out, so we'll actually have Uzi and Cloud with their aggressive dual lane here, and you can see that level 2 being hit, and instantly Zhang Ao and Shu are completely zoned.
Absolutely. They can't even meet the minion wave. It's very unfortunate. There's not going to be a lot of lane presence coming through from EP, at least at level 1. And given that Lucian does very well in this 2v2 matchup, I don't fancy the amount of pressure that they'll be able to put out. And maybe that will open up Loveling for the aggressive counter juggling he's so known for.
I mean, already Kalista falling about 10 CS behind here. And that, of course, will pick up as the waves do come in and she's able to pick up CS. But Uzi always wants to make you contest for CS, and this is the sort of lane where he can really bully people.
Absolutely. I mean, he loves the Lucian. The Lucian coming back to his champion, not necessarily the meta, because there hasn't been a lot of direct Lucian changes, but always a fantastic Lucian. Took Starhorn Royal Club straight through to the Season 4 World Championships with excellent Lucian play. I guess it's not a surprise that when it's back in the meta, or at least when it's back in the thought process, he can do great things on it.
But in the top lane now, Captain 57 going to make his presence known. Amazing Day bounce a little too far forward and going with the devastating charge, and a little bit of swagger just gets out from under that gank.
I love the manners coming through from going. This is 2nd versus 12th, so maybe some overconfidence coming through from OMG. They've certainly got the meta picks. The Karma is the big question mark. Has Ignite probably going to be a build Morellonomicon? Can Cool get through the laning phase? So far, level 3, he's at least very healthy.
And I wonder if Go-Going might have taken away a camp early on. He's already used his teleport, and he's got a flask and a cloth armor, so I think he got some extra experience in gold.
While we weren't able to spot it, you can actually infer it just because he doesn't have any potions as Loveling comes in for a gank. Not going to be enough damage, especially coming through from Cool this time, but the whole process is you start with just a flask. You don't spend the rest of your gold. You go get that first camp. You get the ambient gold from the 30, 40 seconds it takes you to clear the camp. And you go back and buy a full completed item. We've seen boots on Hecarim, and we've seen cloth armor. And cloth armor is the one he went for this time.
Yeah, Amazing J pretty defensive actually as Cloud just throws some poke there and there onto Shu's Jana, but saying the new player here for EP on Kalista doing just fine, still behind Uzi in terms of CS, but probably okay given the state of the lane in general.
And it's worth noting that EP lost a lot of experience because Kane had been their AD carry for a couple of years, been very much AD carry in the LPL the last time they were in the LPL back in 2013. So they lose a lot of experience. I'm not familiar with Zhang Hao as a player. Be interesting to see if he can match the mechanical skill of Uzi, because if he even does capably in this lane, he's performing very well compared to other AD carries who've struggled against Uzi, especially on comfort picks like the Lucian.
Yeah, and as we can look down some of the lanes as well, interestingly, 2 lanes for OMG winning in CS. The Lucian Kalista lane, that's expected to go going a little bit behind, possibly due to the camp that he took from Amazing J's Nah. Even though Amazing J has a Doran shield, but cool. Very impressively ahead of the Karma in mid lane.
I mean, very impressively is worth noting. Absolutely page time. You'd expect Cool to lose this matchup. Doesn't come in with any combat stats, just the boots and 4 potions. But I guess the boots are helping him move away from the Qs in particular, avoid that burst damage coming through. And I got to say, the CSing's poor from low. He's coming back into the lineup after, I believe, 6 to 7, almost 2 months out of the team. He needs to be doing better in what should be a counter-laning matchup against Vladimir.
Yeah, we'll see him, again, just move in for a little bit of poke. Karma mid. Haven't seen her in a while, but we'll see how that does shake out. Cool right now, getting kind of a bit of free time in the mid lane. That's exactly what he wants on this Vlad.
Absolutely. I mean, scales so well with levels and items. I mean, Vladimir in general, if he could spawn into the game at level 16, he'd be one of the strongest champions in the game by far. He just has so many scale. I realize I said by far. That's right, chat. But he'd just be so strong with the AP and the health scaling on the passive. Levels give him more statistics. Rylai's and other items just do double duty and double dip for him. He's very, very strong in the late game. And if he gets in a short lane like mid, not even harassed out of lane, can get away with a boot start, you worry about the first team fight or the item buys coming through from this Vlad.
Absolutely. As up back in the top lane, level 6s have been achieved for both Nah and Hecarim, so ultimates available, going probably just setting his defensively. That's been the common trend with the Ignite teleport Hecarim, and right now it's going to pick up some extra CS. Amazing J might go roaming, and Captain 57 actually had a fairly unmolested early jungle. Loveling is ahead as far as farm goes, but they're both level 5, and even look for a bit of counter jungling there.
I mean, it's worth knowing that Loveling showed excellent presence in the mid lane, which might have forced Karma to really hang back and maybe contributed to the 12 CS advantage that Vladimir has been able to open up. But in the other lanes, just considering the pressure that's come through, the late game scaling on the whole is there for OMG. You've got Hecarim in the top lane. You'd fancy him in the late game compared to Nado. They're both pretty strong. You have Vladimir in the mid lane, definitely going to be the champion in the late game. Karma naturally falls off. Her Q damage can't get to the back line. So in general, tanks will absorb the very high burst, and AD carries will get away scot-free in terms of mage damage in the mid lane. In the bot lane, you'd probably give it just to Kalista in the late game, but honestly, Lucian's no slouch and is a tank buster. Will be able to deal with Sejuani once he gets a few items.
Yeah, can they get the items? That's the question. OMG already had about 600 gold as Loveling lining up a gank to go going, uses his ulti. Loveling going to jump back in, looking for the kick, but doesn't have it. Nah actually going to save him. Wallop there as well for a bit of extra damage. Loveling will chase. That Q lasted forever, but down the bottom, Cloud now in trouble as Captain 57's going to get his gank on. Not even level 6, and there's the first kill actually for Annie. Now Uzi going to pop his ulti, go going, teleported down. Captain 57, little too low as Lucian's out of mana, and somehow a 1-for-1 trade there for OMG.
Uzi's low mana bar was the reason they couldn't pick up any exit kills. Masterful use of the culling, getting, I believe, every hit onto Sejuani. At this early stage at level 6, probably stronger than just auto-attacking. In the late game, you definitely lose DPS by using the culling instead of auto-attacking, but at level 6, it has very high base damage.
It does, and you can see Captain 57 now level 6, but crucially was not there, so no extra CC and a bit of extra damage there for that gank. Good pressure there. It was able to actually pick up a trade kill, but OMG in that situation, going with his teleport, maybe feels a bit robbed to not have another kill, but very strong response.
I mean, we can return to the previous game that happened just before there, though. The difference there, if Loveling was level 6, actually just level 5 at this point, just pinged level 6. If he was level 6, he would have been able to kick Nah away from turret, and they would have picked up a kill there. So again, the levels working against the jungle games, which should have been successful on both lanes, and the overall result, it's to 1-1, but the late game scaling comp in OMG ahead by just 100 gold.
And Cloud doing a bit of a drive-by, actually has his pink ward ready to go going. Flashes himself there as well, so Low going to play quite defensively, and Cloud immediately leaves. But if we do look to the junglers, like you said before, Sejuani, Trailblazer, plus the Cinderhulk already completed, and Loveling, he's got his Stalker's Blade moving in towards the Warrior with that longsword, but he's gone a Sightstone in between.
I feel like scaling will be our new meta word during 5.6. Of course, the health scaling will come through double dipping, triple dipping in those purchases from the Sejuani. Vladimir, because of his passive, doing similar duty. The scaling is so interesting between these two teams. Kallista's probably the one of the hardest champions to kind of button down upon. Is she an early game champion? Probably not. Is she a mid game champion? It feels like when she hits those two items, the Bloodthirster and the Hurricane, if you go for that AoE Renset build, she probably peaks at that point. But if you go for the single target build, very capable in the late game. And of course, you can always swap your item build, go from Phantom Dancer over a Hurricane at 6 items and do that single target damage. So in the late game, I'd probably give it just to Lucian just because he itemizes a bit more naturally for both types of damage. The ult comes in though.
Cloud though does get popped up. Janna going to follow through. Annie probably going to go down and does indeed go to Callista. So a good kill there. Now going in the top lane. Could be in trouble. Amazing J props the wall. There's the hyper coming through. Flash forward. Last auto attack is enough. And Amazing J, a 1v1 kill in top lane.
A solo kill on going. The all-star Chinese top laner. That's a big scalp for Amazing J. I love the fact that he was able to judge his damage very impressively. I didn't know as a caster whether that last auto attack hyper proc would kill the Hecarim, but he certainly did, going for the aggressive turret dive flash.
Kuldo's already ulted onto Shu. That's a lot of Hemoplague damage. Loving kicks him in the face there. Ultimate is going to be enough, but Uzi's going to pop in, get the next kill. Round the side though, too much damage coming in. Captain 57 going to get the next kill. Cool gets a double to Lovely. Tries to get into a smite wall, but loses the Captain 57. Nah, takes out Vladimir off to the side. Lovely ward hops to safety maybe, as Amazing J bounces over. One more auto needed. Either popped over. Beautiful timing by the Sed, and there's a double for the Gnar.
3 and 2, and the Dragon comes through from EP. That's another victory after taking out going in the top lane. The fans look a bit bemused, Pastry Time, because OMG, they're losing this game.
They really are. I mean, they were ahead slightly before, just maybe based on CS, but right now, 1,500 gold or so ahead for Energy Pacemaker, and the man of the hour, as is almost always the case for this team, Amazing J, off to a blisteringly good start on Gnar.
I mean, you blind pick Hecarim against Amazing J. He's got ideas on how to beat you. The Gnar's doing very well. We've seen this matchup multiple times, but Amazing J, his lane dominance against this Hecarim, by far impressive compared to some of the other Gnars we've seen in the LPL.
And it's not just any Hecarim. This is going, the star Chinese top laner. Love the fade here from Amazing to just for a bit of extra lane bully potential. And we're saying all this, well, this is a double of combat summoner Hecarim here with the Ignite.
Absolutely, and losing trades with an Ignite is a worrying spot for the Hecarim. I believe he'd already used it during the almost turret dive. They looked to go for a turret dive, then had to back away. So in this situation, he's behind, I believe, 18 CS to the Gnar. Gnar's doing good things. We haven't seen a lot of Gnar, but in the late game, still very, very needs to be respected. Still has that engage coming through with the bounce and the wallop. So, I mean, Gnar doing well. EP in general doing well. We thought maybe their Q was in the rack after we saw the Garen last time, Patient Time. We were a bit like, okay, they're going for the Garen top. Don't know if that's really necessary. Even before Bami's Cinder comes in, you can go for that very early Sunfire-like effect. In this case, though, they're stepping up with their new lineup.
And that's exactly what they needed to do. It is a new lineup. They've got not a whole lot of, they have not that many games left to play, although the most of almost any other team in the LPL at this point. Every 2-0 is crucial 3 points, and EP, with a miracle run here, could make it into playoffs.
I don't know if the tipping competition in China is going so well. I mean, just judging by LOL Esports, 96% of people voted for OMG this game. EP, they're looking to do some giant killing. I mean, 2-0 against OMG, hell, 1 win. It's still very early, only 13 minutes. Not sure if they'll get there, but they're certainly starting well.
Yeah, off to a good start. Have that first dragon, of course, don't forget, and upping kills and gold as a result. No towers being felled yet as Loveling and Cool team up to take away the Raptors, but Sejuani getting stronger now, probably an Aegis coming through, you have to think. Nidatabai already completed there as well, and Low here with the Athenes. That's the other thing to talk about. 5.6, seeing a couple of changes to that item.
And that's why we talk about champions like Ziggs who are directly buffed, but the indirect buff is so much bigger, going from 50% mana regen to 100% on your completed Athenes. The Chalice being cheaper helps you against difficult matchups like LeBlanc for these wave tier champions. And then, as you mentioned, the Athene's also now gives you 30% of your maximum mana refresh on every assist. So because these control mages, they have shields, they have utility, they're often getting assists just like a Janna picks up Magi's. You're going to stay on so much mana sustain, and it's going to help you get through fights and be relevant.
And it makes sense why we see someone a bit more like Karma and Vladimir, honestly. These aren't, you know, the two quintessential high DPS control mages, but they're definitely a lot more about sustained damage and utility and a little less about assassin-like burst.
I am a little bit disappointed to see Lure go for the Athenes just because against a Vladimir, I feel like the healing reduction will be that much more important. The tether actually goes through the pool, as is the case with all tethers, like, for example, Fiddle's Drain. In this situation, doesn't do a lot of damage and able to back away, as Captain 57 looking to skirmish with Loveling.
Yeah, defense is pink, although that's what Loveling really wanted, but he will be denied, and Captain 57 doing a great job early on here on the Sejuani. It's been a while since we've seen him. We used to see a lot of his Lee Sin when we did see him, but right now looking just great on the new 5.6 jungler.
We still have to have a bit of pause, though, Page Time, and remember that the late game scaling with a champion like Vladimir is probably in the pocket of OMG. So if they're not able to grow this advantage EP, we've already know that Karma in the late game, not really going to be damage relevant. Has some shield, has some speed, but isn't going to be damage relevant. So the damage is only probably going to be the Kalista they can really look at for consistent damage. You need to get more structures. You need to get a complete lockdown on Dragon, and we have to wait and see whether that's something that EP will be able to do, because the late game looking good for OMG.
Yeah, and Zhangao looks to be going that mid-game build you described earlier as well. We had the early BF sword and the recurve, but have finished the Hurricane first for a bit more pushing power, and that means when those two items get completed, Sejuani and everyone going to be grouping together and trying to initiate, because they have great hard engage.
And the item timings are coming through. Infinity Edge and Berserker's Grief, confitted for Uzi. That's a lot of damage. Hurricane BF sword, no slouch either for Zhangao, and those long, drawn-out fights, potential for Rensets are there. OMG, though, they're posturing very aggressively, and there's the piggy.
Yeah, they found Captain 57, ult there by going, Cool's off to the side as well. Kick already used by Loveling, and Cool will get that kill.
Sejuani just didn't really understand the position, didn't have any ward coverage, but still was walking around the river and picked off by this OMG freight train. It's starting to roll, Page Time. They're pushing into mid lane, and they're trying to get some turret damage.
Yeah, the first group for OMG yields a kill. That's great news. Might yield a turret here as well. Lucian under turret's exceptional when it comes to damage on those structures, and doing well there. Tibbers tanking nicely. Shu trying to posture aggressively. Cool actually used his ultimate, I think, to zone them off, but Dragon back up in 35 seconds. We might see a reset.
Yeah, worth knowing, turret damage from Lucian, excellent, but ability to siege poor because of the 500 range. That's why we saw the Hemoplague used, but with Dragon up in 25 seconds, no Hemoplague available. They couldn't even get the structure. OMG, we already see Hecarim returning to lane, does have teleport, but Ignite is down.
Yeah, so not going to be able to use that. EP now going to counter push as they get a little bit of damage done. Kalista, interestingly, kind of interesting under turrets. I feel like Martial Poise does make you very safe, but you're still a standard 550-80 carry.
Absolutely. I mean, it's better than Lucian in terms of safety, but not in terms of damage. So it's a trade-off. It has a lot of attack speed and flat AD, at least for this early 16-minute point. So doing respectable things under turret. But now that Hecarim's moved top, we'll look for wards. There really isn't any for OMG, barring a ward towards the bottom of the banana bush. It looks like it's going to be a free Dragon for EP. It's only the second one, so OMG, some confidence being able to let that up. They just want to get some turret damage to the top.
And that's a disappointing loss of that Dragon, honestly. They'd killed the jungler. It wasn't quite ready to take out the Dragon there as well, but could have, tried to get a push, get some wards down at least in the area. Instead, looked for the counter push mid and lost that Dragon. And that's kind of the way in here for Energy Pacemaker. We already mentioned their comp's fairly low damage. If they can give it high damage with that fifth Dragon ticking away, won't have any problems at all in the later stages.
Absolutely, that's the consideration. In the late game, even your auto attacks, when they're burning with the true damage, are very relevant from all 5 members of EP. But on the other side of the coin, if you've got late game scaling and you're not really hitting those item timings, give away that second Dragon especially. Maybe look for a fight at the third. It's only when the fourth is acquired, not necessarily for the statistics, but the timer towards the 5th Dragon, that you really have to be concerned if you're OMG. Because you've got Vladimir and Hecarim. You're looking pretty happy in the late game.
Yeah, can confirm OMG did lose that Dragon, so EP now up 2-0. Tower did go down on the interim. They were finally able to take out the mid turret, it looks like. So OMG currently leading in turrets 2-1. And Cool going back for his first shopping trip. I guess maybe OMG hadn't had some gold spent, which is why they didn't want to fight around that next Dragon. But Cool kind of torn between a Rabadon or a Zombies, but he'll have either one very soon.
Maybe there'll be a team fight to really tell him if he needs the extra safety of the Zhonya's. I mean, Zhonya's is such a core item on Vladimir just because you have the pool, you have the Zhonya's, you can go for 5 seconds of stasis, do your best Lissandra impersonation as Vladimir. The item timing's still not there though, because we see a bit of armor and defensive items picked up by Gogoing, and of course the The boots have already been upgraded with the home guards, looking for the home guard gank. So they haven't hit the big item timings yet. However, given that they're close to them, could be a big fight coming up at the next dragon.
And that's what they need, just a bit of scaling, deny the crucial third dragon, and then get the ball rolling from there with slightly more scaling on their comp. So Uzi smoothly going through his power curve. That's probably the nice thing about OMG's comp with all the scaling that they're looking to do in the top half of the map, or at least in their solo lanes. Uzi and Cloud, who often play aggressively anyway, just kind of get OMG to that point safely.
And I love the fact that you mentioned the smoothness of the power curve, just because that's something that we've kind of seen Kalista players struggle with. Do you go for that Hurricane Rush? Do you build a bit of the Hurricane and the Bloodthirst, so maybe BF Sword into recurve bow, and come a danger that if you can never enter lane with the constituent parts of 2 items, you might never actually get to that Bloodthirster Hurricane at a decent item timing. But Lucian can happily build the Infinity Edge, builds well into the Zeal. You feel really good when you have those 2 items as Kalista, but before that, you're kind of struggling.
Yeah, looking okay right now. Does get the tower there, so good push coming through as Loveling trying to trap somebody. Cloud missing his Tibber stun, though, was amazing. Jay is able to just hop away. Didn't even need to use his flash. Now Loveling might get slightly caught off, but instead just some wards being taken out. Baron is just about to spawn, but I don't think either team's quite ready for it yet.
No team's going to be rushing down towards Baron. The gold is all equal again after being 1,000 gold in the advantage previous. I think a lot of that was the turret coming down for OMG, but again, with the late game scaling, only 2 dragons really to the advantage of EP. You're even ahead in turrets if you're OMG 3-2. Things are going fine for OMG. Not ideal. They'd like to have some kills too, but fine.
Yeah, and you know, getting those towers is pretty crucial. Just being able to make plays when you finally hit your item timings is kind of the other thing, I guess. We talk a lot about power spikes, but they're not very good if you can't make use of the items you've just bought.
And it's OMG that we always discuss about with their ability to get aggressive wards down after take down the 3 outer turrets. The mid turret was always called the enemy mid turret in this situation. Was always called the OMG turret because it really opened up their aggressive roaming and ward. You can already see wards around the enemy red buff. It looks like they won't be able to contest it, as you can see Kalista picking it up on your mini map, but they have an exact timer on the respawn of that red buff. They're getting wards around in general. The aggressive warding and picks, that's the OMG way. They don't have the item timers or necessarily the mid-game power spikes to aggressively go for them, but they at least have complete information on all the buffs on the map.
Yeah, Cole going to move around to the mid as well, clear something out. Going might be looking for a flank here with his Hecarim multi. That's part of the power of that vision. Cool actually landed a Q onto a Captain 57, but didn't cancel the recall as it had already been completed. But 2 items done now for Zengel. Going actually looking for the bottom side. Amazing Jay. Not going to get knocked back though. Cloud going to try and find a stun, but realizes he's a little too tanky as Amazing Jay with his Randuins and the Spectre's Cal done, plus that Ninja Turbine. And instead they're going to try and siege up a tier 2 turret.
Yeah, the big thing there, Hecarim wasn't looking for kill pressure. They're just trying to rotate with their aggressive wards and try and get as much inner turret damage down as possible. Getting turrets down with a late game scaling comp just means that when you invariably win that team fight that you've picked for, you can just smash down the base and win earlier than expected, given that your comp has specific later power spikes around the 25 to 30 minute power spike timing. Cool's looking pretty good though. Zhonya's and the World of the Ancients going to be working towards, you have to expect a death cap. Already going to have a decent health and armor pool now with his health scaling on his passive. Cool at least is looking pretty good.
Yeah, it's just going to go massive once he gets that death cap and really just overflow as far as all that passive scaling comes through. So OMG, you know, keeping the gold back to even now. EP were up a couple of thousand gold in the earlier stages, but OMG have brought it right back to a very cool, actually even gold, I think, in my last check there. So fine stuff going there. Next dragon will be up in a minute, so OMG have to figure if they want to contest and really fight for it. But EPU had a very good first 5 to 10 minutes of just kind of let OMG back into the game a bit.
It's kind of been the meta-narrative of the EP season, don't you think? We remember the early heady days of Sion tanking the jungle, suiciding to the dragon at level 1 and picking up that dragon, then just not being able to capitalize on good early pressure. That's unfortunately been the consistent EP through line, is they struggle to necessarily take advantage of their power spikes. They've split a lot of series. That's kind of this crazy thing. They're anchored to the bottom of the table. It doesn't mean they've been losing 2-0. They've been drawing a lot of series 1-1, but they haven't been able to pick up those big 2-0s because they just don't consistently capitalize. They can, on their day, do some amazing things. Amazing Jay in particular, living up to his name from time to time. But in terms of consistency, it just hasn't been there from this LSPL, now LPL team.
And it's the big winning teams that have shown that consistency, the ability to 2-0 people and moving into playoffs. That is never more important than it is now here. And all those points that you might have wanted to pick up are now just lost in the fabric of time. As Dragon going to get low there. Loveling wants to steal it, but a third Dragon will go to Energy. Pacemaker, Amazing Jay, ready to ultimate go. Going's going to come in, they want to, but he gets Fates called out. But Uzi just gets destroyed by the Wombo as said Jolty comes in onto 2. Now Going. Going to run away, but he'll die next as well. Cool, forced to flash well and truly away from everybody else. And EP, they get the third dragon and 3 kills.
Pastry, that was a wonderful team fight from EP, specifically the Gnar. We don't see as much of him recently, but it was a godlike Gnar under the turret onto Uzi of all people. His positioning around, it just feels like he hasn't been practicing against Gnar recently. Amazing initiate by Amazing J, again doing his name a lot of justice, and they're going to hopefully be able to take down this Baron from an EP perspective, but Lee Sin is lurking.
Yeah, Shu uses his ulti, gets a bit more health going in. We've got the Callista Spear stacking up into the Baron as well, so Loveling not even going to attempt to contest here. Low Sun has zoned him out, and the Ren secures that the first Baron of the game goes to Energy Pacemaker.
It's difficult to communicate how important these neutral buffs are to a potential victory here for EP. The team fight victories, they're wonderful, but 5 dragons, you have to think with a Karma Sejuani comp is the only real way to victory. So we're going to see a replay. They've already picked up the dragon at this point. Amazing. This is an initiation from OMG. Everything. Hemo play, everything's up, but wait for the Amazing J. Double Gnar is just insane with the Glacial Prison. I mean, Uzi never got to move. He was just instantly dead. They pick off Going as well. Cool has to run away. That was some excellent team fighting from EP. They're hitting it. I mean, 25 minutes on, no big mistakes from this team.
And it was a triple Gnar into triple Sedgehog because poor Cloud just evaporated by all the Wombo. Was barely there.
CC-ception coming through there. Just couldn't move. I believe Uzi was spamming his flash button. Flash still available.
Yeah, couldn't use it at all. Couldn't use the dash. Nothing they could do after Going went in aggressively with his Hecarim ult. Does now have his Trinity Force, which might make their next fight or pick a little bit easier, but Energy Pacemaker hitting all their timings. It's not just the 3 dragons and the Baron. We've got the Death Cap done for Karma. That was completed in the last fight. Mikhail's now done a bevy of tank items now onto Captain 57, although no major ones completed yet. A Banshee's done now for Amazing J. It's an embarrassment of riches for Energy Pacemaker, and they need it because they have to press their advantage right now.
And you're actually seeing the value of the Sejuani pick quite critically in this game. You feel like these Chinese teams, their communication, I believe it is an all-Chinese lineup for EP after the changes with Raphael and Drizzle, the Korean imports no longer in the team. Their communication to get that layering of CC was just completely wonderful. And Sejuani, when she's played to a complete maximum, when she's able to build up her health, get through the jungle. Remember Loveling, one of the greatest counter junglers in the history of League of Legends, not being able to hold down the Sejuani whatsoever. The Sejuani's getting big. The Glacial Prison and AoE CC lane has been wonderful, but Low.
Yeah, Low gets caught. They kicked into a wall, and Cool will get a free kill for it. Captain 57 might look to go back in, but Amazing J's now in. Mega enough on teleport coming in. The Fugo going, I believe, as the boulder gets thrown away. Hecarim trying to line something up, but Popty's in, can't do anything else. Blue buff will go over to Uzi, I believe, who's currently starting. An Amazing J lining it up, but little late there on the steal potential. Does transform back into Mini Gnar, and they'll actually just look for a push instead.
Those pink wards are so aggressive. One in the blue buff, one in the brush, just adjacent to it. I mean, EP, they think they're winning. They definitely are, and I love the confidence and aggression coming through for them, even after Low was picked up.
And that's what you have to do against any team, really, especially OMG, who are so fantastic together in clutch situations. But with the comp they've got as well, we already talked about it, despite the Sejuani here and the decent late game damage from Callista, OMG just have the better scaling. Hecarim will get big and be a massive threat. Cool is getting quite big, actually has an Abyssal Scepter already completed, but until Lucian gets his 3 items, until Vladimir gets that Rabadons and really goes over the top, it just feels like Energy Pacemaker have everything they want.
And that's why I was mentioning the importance of picking up those dragons, because as you look down the lineup, there's just not a lot of damage. I mean, we've seen 2 damage comps. This feels like a 1 damage comp coming through from EP, just with how Karma naturally can't do damage to the backline. You feel like 5th Dragon, that's their big win condition, and hell, they've got all 3 dragons at a very decent clip. It feels like the 5th Dragon, if it's going on timers, will be about 35, 36 minutes into the game. EP, they've played to their win conditions, what is a very difficult comp to execute. Remember, if they ever lose a team fight, a lot of these turrets have already been prepped earlier, a lot of structures will come down. The late game scaling certainly an OMG's advantage, but if you play a mid game and early to mid game comp optimally, you will win a game.
Yeah, and Captain 57 even going to look for another pick. Cloud has to run out of his own jungle. As Amazing J might even look for a tower dive here, who's almost at the Mega Knight. Yeah, he's managed very well. Here is Uzi going to get jumped on. Loveland getting slightly caught as Amazing J going to hop forward, and instead Energy Pacemaker will take another turret here. Dragon back in 1 minute and 10 seconds. OMG are running out of options.
I mean, rage management, the Narbar is harder to use with the later changes. You wouldn't know from watching Amazing J. He always has it prepped up when he rotates. That's the sign of a very practiced Gnar player. And that kind of vindicates playing this champion after this. Before, he was basically a no-brainer in a team fight. Now you really have to watch your timings because your windows of being a god, which is what you feel like Mega Gnar is with the kit that he has, compared to the Minar form, are much more compacted. But if you play it identically or optimally, it looks identical.
And of the key team fights we've seen Energy Pacemaker win, Amazing J's Mega Gnar has been a big instrumental tool in those wins. So Dragon back in 30 seconds. Can Amazing J manage the Narbar? Once again, he's actually almost transformed, now actually transformed again. So you can just see his portrait on the top left there. Dragon up in 20 seconds. EP not quite in the area, and OMG might buy themselves a little bit of breathing room here.
The Mega Gnar transformation coming through. So the threat of Mega Gnar, at least the bounce Gnar ultimate initiation, has passed for a little bit. Gnar coming back from base. The fourth dragon, again, it's that timer. Every dragon that spawns is 6 minutes away from a 5th dragon coming through for EP. They need that. That's their biggest win condition this game. That's what they've worked upon and prepped for 30 minutes of the game, and that's why they're posturing aggressively and ensuring that Amazing J can group and they don't have to use his flash.
And honestly, Uzi's just kind of been caught out in the last few situations. He's got 3 items, Kalista does as well. These AD carries are a big portion of their team's damage, and we'll see if they can get any of that done. But right now, EP with all of their CC are aggressively getting on top of the Dragon.
I mean, it's worth noting, he doesn't really have any help in terms of peel, and he's going in the backline. He doesn't have a Mikhails. There's no other peel apart from Lee Sin, who's again been diving in. The Dragon's getting low.
Loveling wants to steal it, but I don't think he can. Actually, initiate already. Cool. Gonna get locked up there. CC'd and dies with his pull-up, I believe. Flash still there as well, as EP will move back in. The Dragon did not go to them. It was actually stolen away, but they'll move back in. A massive team fight there as the double knockups come through. Zhang Hao gets the next kill onto Uzi. Cloud gonna fall here as well, and it's gonna be almost everybody getting shredded to pieces as Energy Pacemaker win another team fight.
You can see Loveland had to go on your minimap, just recalling, couldn't do anything. It's gonna be at least a turret, couple of turrets coming through from EP. The moment I saw the auto attacks, the free auto attacks coming through from the Kalista, the power spike definitely hit Bloodthirster, Hurricane, Last Whisper. Things were certainly looking good for OMG, and cool. Dying with Zhonya's, with pool available to the constant burst CC.
And, EP had to pick their spot at, through the mid-game somewhere. Did lose that 4th Dragon, so we'll give OMG their first and, more crucially, deny the 4th for a while for themselves as it does respawn. But let's see that team fight again.
So let's watch the replay. Watch Cool. He's in the front. Gets Hemopeg onto only the AD carry. Still a priority member. A 1 damage comp. Not too bad. Gets Nard and dies. You can see the CC bar just never ends when you're against Gnar, hitting the Gnar ultimate and the Sejuani. The fight continues, but Zhang Hao's the one to watch. He gets instantly feared by Gogoin, but doesn't actually cancel an auto attack. Keeps auto attacking the whole time. The reinitiation knock-up is wonderful coming through from the Fate's Call. And the moment I saw the auto attacks continue, I knew that was going to be a team fight victory for EP.
Yeah, I missed how it started, but that replay really shows it. Fate's Call into Arctic Assault into Charge Jana Tornado was absolutely wonderful. And Energy Pacemaker with all of the CC, and that's honestly what their team has as far as late game threats or just threats in general goes. Big team fight CC. They have used it in these engages just wonderfully.
And Uzi's died in 2 fights. He hasn't used his flash in either because he's just never had a chance to. Since the changes in, I believe, patch 5.5, where the layering of CC has become more predictable. You don't have those many options to flash during a CC. We all remember Twisted Fates using Zhonya's or flashing when they should have been CCing. If you layer them optimally, and that's what we're seeing from EP, you can do some serious work on carries, and Cool and Uzi have been non-factors in the last 2 fights. This could be a second Baron for EP.
Yeah, EP are on top of it, and that Warmog for Sejuani with the Frozen Heart plus that Cinderhawk. Sejuani, you sometimes worry about not getting tanky enough. Captain 57 right now is tanky enough. They're even going to pop the Talisman, I believe, to try and initiate. Amazing J pops back into Mininar form, so Energy Pacemaker intelligently back away, but they've got plenty of time here. If they go back to that Baron, OMG eventually have to find an answer.
I mean, tanky enough is not something I'd really put into consideration. He's just tanky in any semblance of the word. Doesn't have a lot of magic resist, but cool. It's not like he's been doing too much in these team fights. His damage only really comes at 3, 4, 5 items. Warmog's Frozen Heart and the Cinderhawk, his health pool is over 4,000, doing a lot of damage through the Northern Winds W. Going to be damage relevant. Hell, the CC's already confirmed. We've seen it in the previous fights. Everything's looking good for EP, but remember, one mistake, 1-1 team fight, the late game scaling will come through from OMG. You're still not far enough ahead. It's only 6,000 gold at 33 minutes.
Yeah, and kind of looking down, the AD carries are actually even, so a big credit to Uzi for keeping significantly far ahead in CS despite everything, and you can tell he's got the items. The Shu gonna get caught out. He gets flash kicked there down as well, but Fade's called out of the way by Zhang Ao, and very smooth stuff by Kalista.
Kalista Jana, that's what we saw after the heady Kalista Annie aggression days. Kalista Jana means that Jana can go scope those wards so aggressively and know that she has the untargetability of the Fade's Cold defense coming through and live. We'll have to go back. No, staying around. Still has all her CC and flash available. Might see a fight.
Yeah, cool poking in. Uzi going to use the culling. Amazing Day trying to build up the Narbar, but doing a good job early on. Going. Can't get tornadoed as he dives straight in, but Amazing Day. Massive 3-man Nara ultimate again into the CC. Cool going to get low, but Shu and low peeling him off. Uzi, though, now finally doing damage as Cool will get sniped by a Karma Q. It's 2 for 2 so far as Uzi going to try and chase them down. Going speedy enough to try and get them. Does get walloped by Amazing Day for some CC, but Jana will go down. Uzi still chasing you. Going might get caught out, but Loveling's going to find as well. Amazing Day doesn't quite get out as Loveling chases him all the way back through the bush. Actually goes down, though, because he doesn't have enough. Going tries to chase him, and as the dust settles, it is 6 kills, 3 for 3.
And it would have been much worse for EP if they hadn't built up such an early lead, because the first person to die on the team was the Kalista, who is the only consistent damage threat. That's why they were all disengaging. That was why they were all kiting away, is they realized they cannot fight when the assassination comes on the Kalista. Now has the QSS, didn't have it last fight, and that would have been a significant difference because it was picked off first, so crucially for OMG.
And we had another great 3-man set of CC between Sejuani and Na, but not enough this time without the damage threat, and that's it's threat, singular. We've talked about it already. It's kind of a 1 damage comp for Energy Pacemaker, and you see when that Kalista dies, things look very different.
I mean, execution heavy is what we say about the dual threat comps. This execution needs to be completely amazing for EP to be able to win these fights. They've managed it a few times, but you can't make too many mistakes against a strong team like OMG who already have the scaling advantage.
Yeah, it's a little less execution heavy and more execution reliant at this point, given that that's all they really have. We've seen Hyper CC comps do work before, but you have to play so well for that sort of comp to work out, and Baron is getting aggressed on again. Again, the Talisman will get popped, looking for a bit of action. Amazing Day does need to stack his rage back up, but he's onto Loveling, and a big wave has been prepped in the bottom side, so EP, they know they have time on their side.
So you might wonder, why is EP just DPSing down this Baron and not going for other objectives? Their big problem is their team is so much better at counter-initiating than full-on initiating. A lot of people say, but you got Sejuani, long-range AoE stun, but you just can't capitalize if it's hit on long range, if you're trying to initiate with it. Na as well loves setup CC. It's 2 setup CC teams trying to fight. That's why they want to fight around the Baron, around a cove like this. You can see in your inset there, they're getting a lot of turret damage as well, so they want to keep starting. Watch Captain 57. Will he throw out the
Cloud goes in, gets picked off though. Zhang Ao gets the first kill, and too aggressive there for the Annie. Now Amazing Day's going to come in. Uzi has to get away. A dash just dodges that boulder, but Captain 57 throws in the 2-man on. Gonna follow in with a knock-up as well, and Uzi got chased all the way to the Dragon Pit. Low going to get that kill, and EP going to conveniently get a 4th Dragon.
Amazing Day was very smart with his positioning there. Walked through to the Dragon Pit knowing that Uzi only had the ability to quick draw, so to Relentless Pursuit over to the Dragon. That's the 4th Dragon, of course. One of them stolen away means it's not a 36-minute 5th Dragon coming through from EP, but it is a timer on the game, and this late game scaling comp might not get the chance to, just because EP, they have sewn up all the neutrals.
Yeah, we saw that big stack of minions there on the top side. It is still pushing, so EP have to be quick about this Baron. A few members of OMG still left alive for it, so going to be looking strong here, but they are DPSing it down. Uzi crucially not here. He's a big damage shot on this comp, but going though, trying to make the difference there. Dives in onto low, will get CC'd up. Those Captain 57 moves back in for the CC, and Kalista, when she gets target set up like this, just does so much damage. Now Cool going to try and make it happen, but Monsoon will reset. Cool, good damage, actually gets the kill onto Kalista. 1v5 there, going to get CC'd up though. Amazing J will dive back in. Cool gets a double kill somehow in and amongst it all, but EP still win the fight. Going to chase onto Cloud now as Amazing J pops back into mini knife bomb. Ridiculous karma damage, going to give Low a double, but no Baron. That's the crucial piece.
Exactly. OMG hold off the Baron without Uzi alive, and if you're trading kills against a team with a late game scaling advantage, that's not ideal either. OMG need to keep them away from the 5th Dragon and the Baron. Otherwise, they'll be happy for the game to go. If those objectives do come through, though, EP should be able to sew up the victory.
And you can really see how much damage this Vladimir can do as far as potency in fights. Cool, went in, got a double kill, 1v5 by himself on the Vlad, so clearly has the mechanics down and has the ability down. I guess my question for you, Papa, is we've kind of gone through EP's comp. It's very different, very surprising, very low on the damage, but is it the sort of thing where you feel like you have enough utility to get through even the high damage laners like the Vlad and Lucian?
I don't feel like they can stand up in a true 5v5, but the one issue OMG has is they have a short-ranged ADC that does a lot of damage in a team fight, but they have no semblance of appeal for him whatsoever. Loveling's been in the front line of these fights, and he's all about flash tibbazing. There's still not been a QSS. The QSS is so important, finally completed for Uzi to be self-reliant, but the appeal is not there for Uzi. If Uzi is assassinated, if they don't have to use the Glacial Prison for chasing purposes. They did manage to kill Lucian during the previous fight, but it wasn't available for the subsequent fight. If they can get it onto the backline, if they can get Uzi and get a line into Uzi, they will win fights here, EP, unless something goes really, really wrong for OMG. So OMG, they're just going to try and get the layering they've looked for the whole game. We still haven't seen the picture-perfect Vlad ultimate into Hecarim initiation into Annie's Tibbet.
Amazing J home guarding forward, actually no Narbar, so doesn't quite have enough for the Mega Narbar, but building up that rage, I think tired right now, so doesn't actually build any rage at all, but Loveling going to get zoned off towards the back there. You can see the Scuttle Crab currently controlled by OMG, and again, it's been the story of the last 10-15 minutes of this game, but a long, long Baron dance between these two.
EP are waiting for Lucian to put a foot wrong and try and CC him up next to a wall where even the QSS won't prevent him from the CC stacking coming through from the Sejuani and Na combination. They don't want to go for the true initiation in the front. Cloud's taking a lot of damage. I think he's going to die here.
He doesn't have many places to run it. Captain 57 might even use the ulti, but they're going to try and save it. Cloud will go down, actually just loses to Amazing J, and you know, the karma damage, not that great on the tanks, like you said, but when you poke a squishy out like that, they die swiftly.
When you're isolated from your backline, absolutely. But here's the initiation.
Yeah, go and get a run, and they're going to try and make it happen. Cool flashing forward aggressively, but gets ulti there. Shu will reset with Monsoon. Uzi, though, a great flank, actually might have enough damage. Moves into the backline, gets the kill onto Kalista. Now going to fight Amazing J, but dancing around with the help of his team. Taking a lot of damage, actually, from the karma. Uzi going to go down to Amazing J as Cool's going to try and hunt him down. Low and Captain 57 still kiting away, but going, chasing in towards the karma, but low. Too squishy now. It's Amazing Day. Dives back in, gets another kill, and it's a bloodbath. Another 3-for-3 trade.
Cool, importantly, did not have his Ghost available, so is kited throughout that fight. Hasn't gone for a Rylai, so has no CC of his own, barring the pool. So he's at full health, but isn't really able to impact the fight, which was a significant problem for OMG. Uzi got the assassination onto the main damage rate. That was excellent play from him, but flashed over and died to the Gnar, which again was just another small mistake. But you can see the difference in these fights when he has a QSS and has the ability not to get caught out by one of the Glacial Prison or the Gnar ultimate, to previously where those abilities, even an isolation, spelled Uzi's death.
And again, another somewhat split fight there for EP as well. Meant the OMG just made it look a lot better. So let's see it again.
So Gogoni comes in with the Onslaught of Shadows, manages to lock up Zhang out as well. So he takes a bit of damage coming through. Absolutely takes a lot of damage between Vlad as well. Has to back away from the fight. But the big tipping point in this fight is when Uzi manages to get the onto Zhang, kills him with 1 Q. That's the big factor. So the fight continues. You think, okay, EP's got no chance here whatsoever. Karma's already low, but Uzi flashes after Amazing J and just dives to the wallop. Karma in the backline, she's very deceptively hard to take down, does a lot of damage, so Hecarim has to back away, but cool. He's caught between multiple members, doesn't have the range to get the kill on Amazing J after initiation, and it's again all even, but you have to again give the advantage to OMG. They're starting to close this gold gap. It's still only 6,000. It's been 6,000 for about 12 to 15 minutes.
And it's just such a weird game as well. Kind of some new picks coming through. A very interesting team comp on both sides, honestly. Definitely 5.6 already showing a lot of changes here in the LPL. But I'm going to give points to Low in that last fight as well, looking back through the replay. He sniped 2 different squishes with those Qs. And again, when you find the targets with the Karma, you do respectable damage.
And that's why OMG need to get fights into the open. We already mentioned that EP wants to be using their CC for counter initiate. You don't have that luxury when you're fighting around Baron, but that's why EP, they're not going to siege, they're not going under touch. They want to fight under the Baron, under the Dragon, look for those big Gnar ultimates into a wall, look for that consistent layering of CC rather than the single initiation CC, and just force the Vlad to lose vision, to not if he doesn't have Ghost, kind of be gated around Ghost if he wants to be consistently involved in a fight, has committed to avoid stuff. I want to see Cool sell the Abyssal Scepter and get the Rylai's.
Amazing Jay, the initiates onto him. Cool might get locked up again. So much damage coming as he finally pops a pull. Now Zhang getting Dovo and Bago going, but they knock him up and keep him safe. Amazing Jay peels off for the double wallop. Amazing Jana ulti there as well will keep them safe, and they've gotten the first kill. It's going that's gone down, and now EP will get their 5th dragon.
The 5th dragon means that everyone's going to be doing relevant damage. The auto attacks burning onto OMG. The Uzi, during that fight, got almost no auto attacks off, was forced to retreat to the cove. No safety against all the tanks and CC coming through from EP. Without the Rylai's, Vladimir is getting kited, isn't doing consistent things, needs a bit of CC threat. Scales so well that items, doesn't really need the Abyssal at this point, and it should be Baron to add to the 5th dragon for EP, but OMG.
No, can't steal it there. Staying with enough rent stacks. Cloud going to get dove on again. Far too aggressive is Cool. Even going to dive in, but gets knocked up. Will find the pull, but should die here as well. And Amazing Jay gets a well-deserved double kill. An Energy Pacemaker now on the verge of taking game 1.
But their minion waves are in disarray. It's been a consistent problem for Energy Pacemakers. Their control minion waves has been poor. Massive stack of minions in the top lane, propped by going earlier. Uzi actually managed to pick up the enemy red through a ward just because they have to react to these minion waves. They've got all the advantage though. Uzi, he's overstayed.
Yeah, they know he's here, and Shu's running in. He's actually going to go and try and make a fight, but the ulti comes in. QSS might save him. Fate's call though, and Zhang rips him a new one. Uzi far too aggressive.
Yeah, Uzi wanted to get an exit kill. The easiest one, at least on paper, was Jana, but the Fate's call ensures that that is not possible. So now Uzi is dead. No wave clear up for OMG for at least 30 seconds as Cool has quite a long death timer. They want to push in. They've got a minion. It's Baroned up. They've got 5 dragons. This should be a breaking of the base for EP.
Yeah, Zhang's just face taking with the help of Karma Shields at this point. And Papa, we mentioned Kalista, still having trouble characterizing her as far as carries go. Late game might be appropriate, but with 5th dragons, I can't think of a scarier AD carry.
And when you're moving to 5.6 and have huge tanks in front of you, you get all those auto attacks off because no one can walk past the Sejuani. Speaking of walk past, they're not interested in doing damage. They want to finish the game.
Yeah, they are going to finish the game. It looks like they're going, getting too low. Cloud trying to run them off, wobbling, flanking around the side as Cool comes in, but the Jana will reset with the ulti. The Nexus goes down, and Energy Pacemaker take game 1, and Amazing Jay celebrates, throws his hands in the air.
Amazing Jay with a new lineup as well, Patreon, bringing back low on Captain 57, who they jettisoned back in week 2 for their Korean imports, Raphael and Drizzle. Zhang coming to this lineup completely unheralded as an AD carry, replacing Kane, their long-term member. We thought it was surprising when Gamti took game off OMG, but now the bottom team, Energy Pacemaker, are 1-0 up against OMG. We thought this was the end. We were like, okay, EP's hopes of making it to the playoffs are dead with this series against tough opposition like OMG. Nobody told Energy Pacemaker, though, and they're still in with a shot.
Yeah, Captain 57 returning to that lineup. Comes in, new pick here. We've seen it on 5.5, 5.6, but his Sejuani was out of this world.
I mean, finally we see a Sejuani to really vindicate the buffs that came through. The Cinderhulk changes, the Sejuani change. Sejuani is definitely a threat to be feared on this patch. I expect to see more bans going forward if teams can be so on point with their communication to lay a CC in just an ideal fashion. Multiple fights in a row where Lucian had his flash available, just found no spot to use it.
Yeah, and fantastic first game for Energy Pacemaker, and OMG will have to see if they can pick themselves up. Don't go too far, because when we return from the break, EP versus OMG Game 2 will be here.